everybody, Thrifty Teresa here. Making a little video today that I've been wanting to make for a while, but part of the story was not resolved until today, so I'm making the video today now that the situation's over. I have recently had two Etsy purchases where I am the buyer that have gone poorly. And I wanted to discuss that a little bit, just for food for thought, and as a seller, talking to other sellers, possibly talking to other customers. I'd like to get your feedback on the topic, just because I think this is a learning experience, and it can be possibly beneficial to not only talk about, all the things I sell, and I love to show you the things I buy, but I want to bring to you that not every transaction is perfect, and whether that is the fault of the seller or whether that's the fault of the buyer, those kind of things need to be thought out. Both of these purchases were made, I believe, on the same day. December 26th, which would be the day after Christmas, I did a bunch of Etsy shopping because, well, that's what you do after the holidays. You've bought things for everybody else, and now it's time to buy some stuff for yourself. So I was making some purchases then. And I bought two different items from two different sellers. One of them happened to be a very new seller who only had maybe 5 or 6 sales, and the other one was from a big Etsy seller who sells a lot of stuff. So there's a real dynamic here as to how the situation was handled, and knowing the seller's history. I'll go ahead and tell you about the first one first because it's probably the easiest, and I'm going to want your feedback on something regarding this issue. So this is the item that I purchased, or rather, this is the purchase that I made from the big Etsy seller who sells a lot of vintage items. You can look at their shop, and they're listing new stuff every day. They have a gorgeous shop with awesome stuff. And they sell a lot. You can go look at their orders and see all the different types of stuff that they sell. So they're a very busy shop. And I understand, reading their About section, that they have multiple shops. They've got, I think, possibly 3 fairly substantial Etsy shops. So they're a busy little business, and they do mention in their shop information that they have multiple people who run these. It's kind of like a family operation. Family and friends are helping them out. So that's one of the reasons that this seller is so successful. But this is what happened. I ordered a vintage recipe box, one of those little metal recipe boxes, and I got a very flat package in the mail. And I wasn't expecting anything this shape. So I'm like, what's going on? I open it up, and it's a comic book. It was wrapped in bubble wrap. It was wrapped very nicely. I've unwrapped it because I'm showing it to you. And also part of the resolution for this situation is she told me to keep it. So anyway, I reached out to the seller and sent them a picture and said, hey, I got this comic book. And looking at their sales history, I can tell that this was purchased within either the same day or, within a day or so of my purchase. And I was like, hey, I've got your comic book. I'm more than happy to return it to you. I also said that I'd be more than happy to ship it directly to their customer. Because I've got mailing material, I got no problem doing that. I would just need, either be refunded for the shipping label or have them provide me with a shipping label. Anyway, so I'm like, you want to have this back? I would really like my recipe box. Do you have any idea where it went? And what's the likelihood of getting it? So it took a couple of days for them to respond, but again, this happened I ordered it over Christmas. It probably arrived the following week, which would be around New Year's. So, it took them a couple days to respond, but that's no problem. And she said that the customer who got my recipe box threw it away, and she told me to keep this. So she gave me a full refund, no problemo, full refund, shipping refund, everything refund, and she told me to keep this. So here's my question. Should I sell this? Is that moral? Am I able to do that? So looking at her Etsy listing, I think she sold this for around $4. I've done a very tiny amount of research, like 5 minutes of research, and this particular edition, it's from 1978. It's a number 19 in a series, and it is probably could fetch me anywhere from $5 or $10, depending on the condition. And it looks like it's in nice condition, but then again, I don't know crap about comic books. But I've got this vintage comic book now. Should I sell it? Is it wrong for me to do that? Technically it's mine. She gave it to me. But I kind of feel weird at the idea of selling it in my Etsy shop, which is where I would put it. I guess I could put it on eBay, but that would be kind of weird. So anyway, I've talked before about sellers who buy things to resell, because that's something that I do too. And people have bought my items and then sold them in their shops. No big deal, but I don't know. This is just kind of weird, and it puts me in a weird place inside my head. Is should I do it or not? So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Should I sell this? I won't get much money for it, but I guess it would take away my pain and suffering from not getting that recipe box. And I have since ordered a new recipe box from somebody else, but that hasn't arrived yet. Okay, so that was seller number one, who is a big volume seller in multiple shops. They switched up an order, but they resolved it fairly fast, and they resolved it just fine. So that's that. The second situation is a little more, it's a little longer, and I brought visual aids. I printed out calendars to show you how long it has taken to resolve this issue. So this is December. Got a little Christmas ornaments and everything on here. So December 26th, I placed an order with this seller. This particular seller was the small-time seller. Their shop had only been open less than a year, and they had very few items for sale, and they have had very few sales, maybe 5 or 6, possibly 9 sales. I can't quite remember. Part of the reason I don't know is because their shop is now closed. We'll get into that. So I don't know what happened. So I placed the order on the 26th, day after Christmas, no biggie. 2 days later, on December 28th, the seller sent me an email saying, sorry for the delay. They said that they have just recently moved. They're in the process of unpacking boxes. And they said on the 28th, I'll ship it out tomorrow, which would have been the 29th. That didn't happen. Nothing got shipped. It was not marked shipped. I never got anything shipped. There was no tracking number or nothing. Like I said, it wasn't even marked shipped on Etsy. I waited because I'm a patient girl. And I think I'm a pretty patient buyer. I like to give other sellers the benefit of the doubt. When they told me that they were moving, I sent them a message saying, even though they said they're going to ship it tomorrow, I said, no problem, no rush. I understand it's the holidays. I understand you just moved. It's no hurry. This is not a gift. It's just something for myself. So I was trying to ease their mind that I'm not a nasty person and I'm not going to give them bad feedback because it took them a few extra days to ship it. But then I started to think to myself, 2 weeks later, January 14th, I have not received this yet. So now it's January 14th. I never received it, so I sent them a message saying, hey, I know I told you no rush, but it's been a couple weeks. You have not marked the order shipped. Can you let me know if you did ship it? And if not, can you give me an idea of when you might find this item and ship it? So that was on the 14th. 4 days later, they emailed me saying, no problem, I found it. They said they found it, but they didn't say they were going to ship it. But they said they found it, so I was happy again. And I sent them a message saying, hey, no problem, great, thanks for letting me know. And then another week and a half go by on the 29th. So remember, I ordered this on the 26th. Their original email to me was on the 28th. On the 29th, it's been an entire month, and I have not received this item. And it was still not marked shipped. I didn't bother emailing the customer again, or emailing the seller again, because at this point, I'm cranky. My patience is, spiraling downward. I opened a case. So I opened an Etsy case, basically stating the same thing, and the Etsy admin can go back and see the messages that we had with each other saying I found it and I'll ship it and whatever. And so I opened an Etsy case saying it hasn't been shipped, it's not marked shipped, haven't received a tracking number, it's been an entire month, and that's it. So that was on January 29th. Okay, it's February. February 5th, I escalated the case. That was 1 week since opening the case, and the Etsy case system tells you within 1 week, and it gives you the date. On this date, you are able to escalate the case if you haven't resolved the issue with the seller. So of course, the seller gets an email from Etsy saying there's a case against you. You need to work it out with your buyer. The seller never responded to the case. So I went ahead and escalated it on the 5th of February, saying, I haven't heard anything from the seller. They're not responding to the case. Would you please, help me out? It took about 5 days, but Etsy responded on the 10th of February saying, okay, since you guys can't work it out, we're going to give you one last chance. So they're telling me, the buyer, if the item hasn't arrived in another week, to notify Etsy, through the case system. And they're telling the seller, yo, if you don't respond to this, Etsy's going to refund your buyer and you're going to owe Etsy money. Oh, and I also want to point out, sometime between opening the case and the 1 week of escalating the case, the Etsy shop is closed. The seller still has an Etsy account for buying. I can go view their profile and see their favorites and the other shops they like and stuff like that, but they no longer have a store. So I don't know if that's because Etsy closed their store, because I hadn't escalated the case yet, really. But sometime between that 1 week period, they shut their store down, or the store got shut down. So another 7 days go by, which is today, the 17th. I escalated the case again, saying, yo, the seller's not responding to the case. I have not received the item. It has never been marked shipped. I have never received a tracking number. I would like a refund, please. So I got my refund. So February 17th, that's like a month and a half it took to resolve this issue. And, it really sucks. I want to support all, Etsy sellers. New sellers, established sellers, power sellers, whatever. I started an Etsy shop last year and had a few sales, and I know it can be hard to get sales when you're new to Etsy. But I took care of those customers. I got them their items. I responded to any messages they had for me. I I was a seller taking care of my customers. So it boggles my mind that somebody is going to go through all the effort of trying to build an Etsy shop to get a sale. It was a very small sale too. I mean, it was the item plus shipping was less than $12. It wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a very special or fancy item. It's just something that I wanted for myself. I'm not going to bother telling you what it was, but it was something that was nostalgic to me, something I remember from my childhood, and I wanted to have it. So, anyway, I can go get it from another seller because it's a very common item and there are plenty of other sellers out there. But when I was making my purchasing decision, I chose that seller. And I chose the seller because of where they're located. I thought it would be shipped fairly fast. Their prices were extremely reasonable. They were a new seller, and I want to support new sellers. And that's the reason that I chose them to buy from. And then, this happens. Not responding to messages very fast, telling me they're going to ship things when they don't ship things, and then straight up not responding to anything at all. Again, I don't know if they closed their shop down or if Etsy closed their shop down. I'm wondering if they had cases with other buyers. Because if you get multiple cases open up against you and they're not being resolved, Etsy will shut your shop down. They will also shut your shop down if you're not paying your bill. And in this case, since they've had to refund me, even if the seller didn't shut their shop down, Etsy would have, because now they owe Etsy money. Yeah, so those are the two poor experiences I had with my buying. So I can go get that item from somebody else. It's not a big deal. It just really sucks that it took a month and a half, of spotty correspondence, if anything at all, for me to finally get my, pithy little refund. I can't leave feedback for the buyer. The case is closed. The store is closed. The feedback window is passed. I can't even say, you were not very nice, I'm not a nasty person, though. I mean, I wouldn't be leaving poor feedback, really, anyway. And not in a situation like this where now the situation is resolved. Anyway, so that blows. So that's my long story. Thank you for listening. If you want to leave me a comment and let me know what to do with this comic book, I would love your feedback because I'm honestly perplexed. I don't know. so that's it. I really am such a big fan of Etsy and the Etsy community and the Etsy sellers, and I will continue to be purchasing online, and I'm sure I may have future bungles with orders. I may bungle an order myself. Something bad may happen, but I hope that I would handle it well. So there's a lesson for everybody out there. I probably learned a lesson in it too, even though, the lesson is, I just want my stuff. just send me my stuff. I've given you money. Please give me the stuff. That's how, transactions work. So, all right, that's it. This has been a really long video. Thank you for listening to me ramble, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.